Hello, Hawkeye fans. Today we're talking about mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm joined by two of our counseling and sports psychologists at the University of Iowa, Aubrette Kinne and Carmen Tebbe Priebe. You guys, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hey.
So we just want to discuss the topic of mental health. Obviously, this is something that I don't think we talk about enough in our daily lives. And I want to just kind of take a moment to kind of give more information, some advice, some tips, and then just normalize the conversation as much as we possibly can. So Aubrette, I want to start with you. I mentioned that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. What exactly does that mean? How did it get started? And just kind of tell me what it is.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura, first for having us here to talk about mental health. I totally agree. We need to talk about it more because it's something that impacts all of us in our daily lives. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It started back in the late 40s and is put on by a group called the Mental Health America organization. And the purpose really is to raise awareness and educate the public about mental health issues and what mental health really truly looks like, and help get people the skills and tools to really improve their own mental health and resiliency. This year's theme is Tools to Thrive. And so the push of the Mental Health America organization really is, here's what you do. Not only here's what mental health looks like, but here are some things that you can use to help yourself or help a friend or family member that might be going through some mental health challenges or difficulties, which I think is definitely something we all probably are experiencing in this era. But it's really about getting those tangible tools out there this year, and that is the goal and the purpose of the Mental Health Awareness Month for May of 2020.
All right, wonderful. Now, Carmen, I mentioned you guys are counseling and sports psychologists at the university. What are some things that might impact a student athlete's mental health?
Mm-hmm. So our student athletes, they face the same stress that all college students face. You know, what's going on developmentally for them. They're trying to get good grades, they have relationships, family dynamics, but then on top of that, they have the pressure of their sport, often a lot of public scrutiny, just the grueling schedule. I don't think everybody really understands how busy our student athletes are. And there's just not a lot of downtime for your own just psychological recovery, just mental well-being. So that really grueling kind of grinding schedule, there might be some, underlying issues that get exacerbated by that. There might be some sport specific in terms of, how is sport going for them? Again, our athletes, they put so much time and energy into this that it's normal for them to identify a lot with their athletic success. And as much as we want them to strive to reach their athletic success, at the same time, we're trying to teach them how to balance it when it doesn't go well, because sports is fickle, sports is uncertain, and things don't always, work out how we hope to be, regardless of how hard we're working. So we're really trying to teach them to find that sweet spot, and sometimes that's where we see some of the symptoms come up.
So Carmen, you talk about, all those variables, the things that student athletes are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. You mentioned that grueling schedule and then everything on top of that. So Aubrette, what are the resources that are available to the student athletes at the University of Iowa?
So here at Iowa, our student athletes have access to really a full spectrum of services, from the mental health end of things. Carmen and I are both available for individual therapy for our student athletes. These could be things like anxiety, depression, eating disorders, life stressors, balancing being a student and an athlete, and all of that. And it's also for individual performance enhancement related sessions. So how can we help them deal with that grueling schedule or the pressures of trying to perform both internal and from their environment? As well as mental skills training. How can we build confidence and resiliency and help our student athletes work through those skills as well? So individually, those are things that we work on with student athletes one-on-one. We also do team sessions with teams. Could be team building exercises, team cohesion, mental skills training, like I just mentioned, or whatever else that the team might need. And then we also do some multi-sport programming. So there may be a topic that impacts all student athletes, regardless of what sport you're from. And so we will put on some programming or collaborate with other departments like student athlete development or academics, whatever it might be, whatever the need is, we'll collaborate to provide something that all student athletes could attend and take part in and learn from one another, student athletes that they might see from different sports. We also work with our coaches and help them gain some mental skill awareness, mental health awareness. Our sports medicine staff in doing some mental health awareness trainings with them as well. So our primary focus is on helping the student athletes navigate this life of being a student and an athlete, but we also support our staff in different ways as well.
Wow, I am so glad that I asked that question, because I don't think that, I mean, even I didn't know about a lot of those resources, so that's pretty incredible. Another thing that I want to talk about is the Health and Wellbeing Outreach Committee. What exactly is that?
So that is a relatively new committee. We started a couple of years ago. It was really organic. A few of us from different departments, like I mentioned, academics, nutrition, strength and conditioning, athletic training, and just kind of saying, what are you all seeing? What are we needing to do to help our student athletes on a bigger picture scale? And so we decided to come together and make a committee where we could talk about that regularly. What are the things that we're noticing and seeing across student athletes? And can we create some outreach programming events to be able to help with that? So in February, we had a whole group of events around National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. We have done De-Stress Fest around finals week and helping our student athletes cope through that period of time. As well as some alcohol and other drug education training and involvement in our summer bridge program with our freshmen who are onboarding. So it's really an interdisciplinary group that is coming together to find ways that we can enhance the overall health and well-being for all our student athletes.
All right, the Distress Fest. I would like to get on that one, I think, at some point. I think we all could. Hey, Carmen, Aubrey had mentioned the mental health services and mental skills training. What's the difference between those two things?
Yeah, we're so glad you asked us that, because that's something that I think is a big misperception in the public in terms of what like a sports psychologist is. So a sports psychologist, which is both Aubrey and I, we are licensed psychologists, and we are able to treat mental health concerns, but we also have both had additional training in performance optimization. So the skills that really would help a performer just optimize their performance. And we really look at it as on a continuum. So on one hand, you might have a mental health concern that is more of a clinical diagnosis. We really need to intervene, and we're just trying to get somebody to kind of return to functioning. Performance is really not what we're concerned about at the time. On the other side of the continuum, we have performers who, they are doing well, they just want to do better. I think we all want to do as well as we can. And really, most of us fall somewhere in between throughout our life. And so do our college student athletes. There's just, again, there's normal stress. There's the pressure of the game. There's just all the different things that might be affecting them. And so, you know, when you have the kind of background that Aubrey and I have, it's very fluid in terms of what we work on. It's not, you know, when you come in this session, this is what we're going to talk about. When you come in this session, this is what we're going to talk about, because we have that dual training. You know, the key consideration in there, though, is if somebody wants mental health services, they need to find someone who is a licensed clinician. I have tons of colleagues who are fantastic at mental skills training, and I learn a lot for them, but they're not licensed mental health providers, and that's just a really important distinction to be able to treat those disorders. A lot of the work that we do on mental health and mental skills, there's obviously considerable overlap. So, you know, an analogy I like to give is like strength and conditioning and athletic training. When athletes are working out, they don't say, oh, well, I'm strong enough, I'm going to stop working out. They keep working out. And that's how we look at mental skills training. You're developing these skills, you're figuring out your strengths, and you're just refining them. You're adjusting, you're refining as you grow as an athlete. Okay, our sports medicine staff, they might be treating injuries where something is broken before they can play. But both groups have to work together, because most of the time an athlete is going to need those services. So there's a lot of overlap between those two skills that we're teaching, but also some pretty clear differences.
Yeah, it's really interesting when I hear you both talk about this, is you talk about enhancing performance. And I feel like to the average person, when we think of elite athletes, college athletes, when you say enhancing performance, we think getting faster, stronger, those kind of physical things. But you don't think of the mental side, and I think that's pretty incredible that to bring that to light, that goes into their, into their performance. So I want to talk about what coaches and other athletic department staff can do to support their student athletes and their mental health. Aubrey, what can you say to that?
I think the first thing to do is to talk about it, to know that it is okay to have periods where you feel overwhelmed or stressed or anxious or even depressed. Our coaches are wonderful role models for our student athletes, and if they are normalizing the conversation, the athletes are going to normalize it for themselves as well, and that's going to go a long way in reducing the stigma around mental health that exists in our society still. I think the other aspect is to be able to let them know that it's okay to reach out for help. Again, our coaches are great role models, and if they let our student athletes know it's okay to go talk to somebody, it's okay to use the resources we have on campus to work on your own mental health or work on the mental side of your sport or the pressures of it, that will really be something that can help encourage them, help them feel comfortable to go and do that. And to also help have us around. I think sometimes psychology and therapy, there are stereotypes about it. There feels like some mystery around it. And so I find when student athletes can see our faces, know who we are, know that we're normal human beings, that they will be willing to say, okay, I'm going to go try that out. I'm going to go in and talk to Aubrey or Carmen and at least see what it's like. I think us being around the team and getting to meet the team and introduce ourselves can help with that piece of the puzzle as well.
So Aubrey, you talk about, encouraging athletes to come talk to you guys, their coaches, the athletic department staff, encouraging them to talk to them. And so when they are encouraging them, it's probably because they're exuding some kind of mental health concern, right? So what are some signs of those concerns that you might want to look out for?
So a lot of it is just change in behavior. So maybe people are sleeping more, they're sleeping yet less, appetite changes, becoming socially withdrawn, maybe increased substance use, which I know at the college population, sometimes that's hard to determine, and because we normalize it a lot as everybody's doing it, but being really aware of why people are using substances, any kind of legal concerns, decreased performance in any area of their life, so athletic, academic. A lot of times symptoms are masked as anger, irritability. So people might seem like just like they have a short temper or they're just edgy. Missing a lot of deadlines. It's a lot of just change in behavior from what that person's normal baseline is. And most of the time, when coaches refer to us and they're concerned about somebody, they'll say like something just seems off. And we really rely on our coaches and our sports med staff and our strength and conditioning. They see these athletes every day. They know what their baseline is. They know what their normal pace is. They know what their typical demeanor is. And so if they notice something's off, there's a good chance that, and maybe it's just situational and it passes, but we really rely on that feedback from them. So again, that's kind of a referral for mental health. From a mental skills perspective, we often just get referrals. Hey, see if you like it. See if you have something to gain from it. One of the coaches that I work pretty closely with, he always calls it an oil change. He says, you bring your car in to get checked just to make sure and, tighten everything up. And so I've kind of adopted that analogy because it makes sense. And it just, we all need to kind of assess where are we at, reflect on what we're doing well, reflect on what could be better. And so a lot of times the referrals are just for that.
Yeah. So Aubrey, what are some tools for maybe our Hawkeye fans that are watching, or maybe even student athletes that are watching, some tools to cope with mental health issues and to achieve mental health wellness?
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas and things that I think could be helpful. Whether you're struggling with things like anxiety, depression, or just having days where your mood might feel off or feel a bit overwhelmed, these techniques help anybody, whether you're an athlete or someone trying to go to work or parent or homeschool, whatever it might be. The first step is to take some deep breaths. Start to calm your physical reaction when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Oftentimes it's the first way that we notice things. And so slowing the bodily reaction down can help you feel a little better, but also slow the mind down as well, which can often be racing when we're feeling overwhelmed. One way could be to challenge your negative thoughts. Once you can slow the bodily reaction down, anxiety often convinces us that our worries, our facts are true, but usually they're not. So we can say, wait, hang on, is that really true? That can kind of help us break through what we're feeling. You could engage in some mindfulness, which really is about being in the present moment. Oftentimes we're dwelling in the past, ruminating about something, replaying it over and over in our heads, or we're worried about the future. When is this going to happen? How is it going to happen? What's it going to look like? How's that going to affect me? And so just saying, okay, hang on. I can only focus on this present moment. I can only control this present moment. So let me try to bring myself back here as best I can. Allowing yourself to feel. Emotions are real. They are normal. Everyone experiences them. Even the emotions we don't like to feel, like sadness or anger, are good emotions because they're telling us something about what we're experiencing and how it's affecting us. But a lot of times we tend to push those emotions down because they feel uncomfortable or painful, or we've been taught to think that they're wrong. Allowing yourself to have that emotion, name it, let yourself say like, okay, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling really sad right now. And then find a healthy way to express it. Some ways could be to write about it in a journal, or do art or music, or talk about it with someone that you trust. Show yourself compassion. I think we all need to work on being kind to ourselves. We are our own worst critic at times. And so being able to say, okay, I'm doing the best I can. I know I want more, or I want to try to improve this for next time, but today I did the best that I can. Take a positive lens and consider your strengths. Again, we're our own worst critics, so often we can pick out the negative things or the things we need to improve on pretty easily. And we have a harder time acknowledging what we do a pretty good job of already. So taking some time to reflect on the qualities and skills that you have that can help you get through the situation that you're in or what you're feeling at that time. Draw on your support system, lean on your family and friends that you can count on to be understanding of what you're going through and to find ways to help you get through it. And then if you feel like you maybe need some additional support, reach out to a mental health provider. Like Carmen mentioned, finding a licensed clinician who could be able to help you work through the mental health concerns you're having. We always say it is never too early to work with a therapist. You don't have to be in the depths of depression or anxiety to feel like you have to turn to someone. Quite the opposite. It's actually could be more beneficial to talk to someone early on to start building those skills to help you get through and kind of turn around how you're feeling.
Okay, that is a great list of advice. I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of the same answers for this next question I have for you, Aubrey. Right now, I mean, everyone is being significantly impacted by COVID-19, especially mentally in this period of physical distancing. So are there any tips that you might have to help cope with this?
You're absolutely right. A lot of similarities. The first one, though, is to know that your concerns are valid. This is a very unusual time, to say the least, but it can be a very scary and anxiety-provoking time from a health perspective, maybe for you or your loved ones, from a financial perspective, from the physical distancing, the social connection piece of it, and the uncertainty. We just don't know, and it's changing daily and weekly. So know that those concerns and those frustrations that you're having are very valid. Focusing on what you can control. There's a lot we can't control about this situation, so staying grounded in the things that you can control can help you feel a little less distressed about the current climate. Create a routine for your day. Many of us are stuck in our homes and with little opportunity to leave. And so what can your routine be for the day? Coming up with some routine will help create some sense of normalcy in this very unusual and abnormal time. Take care of your health basics. Make sure you're prioritizing things like sleep, exercise, and nutrition. I know we may not have access to all of our usual exercise needs or even grocery store, supplies or touch and go depending on the week. But do the best you can to focus on those things and prioritize them. Engage in regular self-care, which is essentially just make sure you're weaving in some things you really enjoy doing. Maybe it's a game night or a movie night with your family, or setting aside some time in your routine to read a good book. Finding things that really kind of feed the soul can help us cope with this challenging time. We do, you mentioned the term physical distancing. We do have to engage in that, but we don't have to be socially disconnected from people as we do that. Finding unique ways to do that. FaceTime, Zoom, good old-fashioned phone calls are a really great way to stay connected to our friends and family. Maybe even organizing a game night with a couple of your friends via Zoom can be a good way to, even though you can't physically be in the room, still feel connected to the people you care most about. Remind yourself this is temporary. Though this feels like it's been going on for an eternity, it will end at some point. Even if that's a little while down the road, it will end. And so reminding yourself like this is not going to be forever. We will get back to some of what used to be our normal, and that can kind of help us tolerate that this is going on. And then, like I said, reach out to friends or family or a mental health professional if you feel like you need additional support coping. Most, if not all, mental health professionals across the country have turned to telehealth sessions, and so there's still lots of resources out there for you.
Okay, so Carmen, you talk about getting that oil change, right? So if somebody's looking to do that, come talk to a licensed clinician. How can someone find a therapist in their area?
Well, college students should have some type of resource available on campus. So for example, University Counseling Services is available for all of our students at Iowa. And most universities have services similar to that. You can also check with your employer. So the benefits package, some benefits package include EAP, so employee assistance providers, where a certain number of sessions are covered by their benefits package. Or there should at least be a list of providers that are covered by your insurance. Another option is to ask your primary care physician. They should have a list of, they're going to be assessing mood. That's a pretty common thing to be doing in our normal, just kind of physical wellness checks. Asking them, asking a pediatrician, for example, if you have children, and also asking your friends. Most of the time, somebody knows somebody who is already engaging in counseling. And it can be a tough topic to bring up, but most people, once they're in it, they're happy to give out a referral. And maybe it's not appropriate for someone to go to that particular clinician for whatever reason, but that clinician might have a referral list of clinicians that they trust. It's very common for us to get referrals in that sense. And, we have a list of trusted providers that we often use. And the one thing I really want to emphasize too is find a good fit. It's just like any healthcare provider. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel like you're getting your answers, it takes time. Therapy is not a quick fix. I know I kind of, compared it to an oil change, but it will not be that fast, I promise. You have to engage in the process and you have to feel comfortable doing it. So find a good fit, find someone that you feel comfortable with. And if it means that you have to try a couple different providers, that's the way it has to be.
Right, that is such great advice. You guys gave me so much great information. I hope all of our Hawkeye fans at home and student athletes that are watching this feel maybe like, hey, maybe I can go talk to somebody now. And I love that you guys are helping us to normalize this conversation. So thank you both so much for your time today. I appreciate it.